In today's video, we are going to continue on with circles, and this time we're going to be looking at angle relationships in circles. So there are multiple relationships that we've learned about so far. We've learned about central angles and we've learned about inscribed angles, and we're just going to further that a little bit here. So this one is pretty much an inscribed, this first one is an inscribed angle. This one isn't necessarily an inscribed angle, but very similar. And if you the formula is going to be the same. So if you remember central angle, when it's on the center of the circle, that's going to be equal to the arc. Remember, when you have an inscribed angle, the arc is 2 times the measure of the angle. So when we're talking about this arc compared to this angle, let me leave the angle in red. Okay, so the angle in red. So we're going to do 2 times the angle. So when you know this angle, you do 2 times the angle and it will equal that arc. Okay, same thing here. So you've got this angle here times 2 will equal the arc from here all the way back to that vertex. Okay, so if your angle is formed on the circle, okay, so you see this vertex on the circle like this, like an inscribed angle, or like this one, the formula is 2 times the angle equals the arc. Okay, so let me just put in some measures here too. So if this was 40, this would be 80. Okay, so the angle has a smaller measurement. Another way that you can have angles is for the angle to be formed inside of the circle. Okay, so we see some angles in here. Okay, so you see these angles in here. Now these are vertical, so these 2 angles right here are equal. Okay, but these angles are formed inside of the circle. Okay, so you've got 2 different arcs formed here. You've got this arc here, okay, and you've got this arc here. They're clearly different sizes, okay, and these 2 angles are the same, so you can't just divide by 2 anymore to get this, okay, because I'll give you different numbers, and these vertical angles are definitely the same. So what you do in this case is you add the arcs together. So we take both arcs, we add them together, divide it by 2, and that equals that angle on the inside. Okay, so this red arc plus green arc divided by 2 equals the angle. Okay, so let's just put some measurements in here. So if this was 80 and this was 60, okay, we would do 80 plus 60, whoops, and then divide by 2. That's going to give us this angle. So 80 plus 60 is 140. Divided by 2 will give us 70. Okay, so these angles in here would be 70. Final way that we have angles is angles that are formed outside of the circle. Okay, so you see these 2 secant lines going through the circle and forming outside of the circle. Okay, so this again is going to create 2 arcs. You've got this arc, which we'll call the outer arc. Okay, because it's the bigger one. Then we've got this inner arc. And then we've got the angle out here. Okay, then you've got this angle. So what you do for these ones is you subtract the arcs. So you do outer minus inner divided by 2 equals the angle. Okay, and I like to remember this, that you subtract towards the angle. So you go outer, this minus this divided by 2 equals that outside angle. So always start away from the angle and subtract towards it. So bigger minus smaller divided by 2 equals that angle. So let's take a look at a couple examples here. So first thing that I think that you should do is ask yourself, is it inside, outside, or on the circle? So is this angle inside, on, or outside the angle? Okay, and in this case it's on. Okay, so then you would look back. On the circle is 2 times the angle equals the arc. Okay, so that's our formula here. 2 times the angle equals the arc. So then let's fill in what we know. So 2 times the angle, okay, and I'm just going to put an x here. Okay, so the angle is x equals the arc, 210. So we have 2x equals 210. So you can divide by 2 and get x equals 105. Or the measure of angle 1 equals 105 degrees for your answer. Next one, again, is this angle that we see in this picture inside, outside, or on the circle? And again, we see on. So we need 2 times the angle equals the arc. Okay, now this is the angle given, which means 2 times that equals this arc. That isn't the arc given to us in this problem. Okay, so what we need to do is figure out this angle to go with the arc that we're given. Okay, remember these 2 angles are a linear pair. So we'll do 180 minus 96 to get 84. Okay, then we'll have the angle that pairs up with this arc. So then we'll do 2 times the angle equals the arc. Another way you could do this is by multiplying 96 by 2 to get this arc, and then recognizing that the whole circle is 360. So then you could subtract this arc once you get it from 360 and set it equal to 4x if you wanted to. All right, so 2 times 84 is 168 equals 4x. Divide by 4, and we'd get x equals 42. Is this angle inside, outside, or on the circle? So this one is inside. So now take a look at the arcs that you have, okay? So you have this arc and you have this arc. Now be careful because this arc goes with this angle. This arc goes with this angle. That isn't the angle that we're given, okay? So we need the angle that goes with these 2 given arcs. So we need this angle. So again, 180 minus 120, since that's a straight line right there. So we get 60. So this inner angle here is 60. And then the formula is arc plus arc divided by 2 equals the angle when it's inside the circle. So we'll take the arc, x, plus the other arc, x plus 8, divide it by 2, and it'll equal that angle on the inside, 60. So now we'll combine our like terms up top. So we have 2x plus 8 divided by 2 equals 60. I'm just going to make this into a proportion so that I can cross multiply. So then you're going to end up with 2x plus 8 equals 120. Subtract 8 from both sides. Sorry, I'm running out of room here. So you get 2x equals 112. Divide by 2. And we get x equals 56. Okay, so arc. So this arc was x plus arc, this x plus 8, divided by 2 equaled the angle. Make sure you have the correct angle that goes with those arcs. Next one, inside, outside, or on. So we see an angle here formed outside of the circle. Remember, this formula is arc minus arc divided by 2 equals the angle. And remember, we subtract from the outside, or like away from the angle. So we start away from the angle going in. Okay, so this one's going to help us solve for x first. So the outside arc is 6x plus 10 minus the inside arc, which is x, divided by 2 equals 20. Okay, so let's combine like terms. So 6x minus x is 5x plus 10 divided by 2 equals 20. I'm going to make it into a proportion here so I can cross multiply. So I'm going to do 2 times 20. So we get the 5x plus 10 equals 40. Subtract 10 from both sides. Get 5x equals 30. Divide by 5. And we'll get x equals 6. Okay, there is a y up here as well, so we can go ahead and look at that. So we got 6 degrees for this arc. Okay, now you see congruent chords here. So that means that this arc here is going to be the same as this arc here. Okay, so x is 6. So let me plug 6 in here as well. So 6 times 6 is 36, plus 10 is 46. So that's 2 arcs out of our total. Okay, so let's do 360 minus 46 and minus 6. Okay, that'll give us 308 degrees left over for these 2 green arcs, which are exactly the same. So we'll divide by 2 and get y equals 154 degrees for that arc. All right, last 2 examples. Inside, outside, or on. So this one is outside. So we need to do outer arc minus inner arc divided by 2 equals our angle. Okay, so we need this outer arc here. Remember, the whole thing is 360, and we have 100 used up right here. So we'll do 360 minus 100, which is 260 for this outer arc. So we have 260 minus 100 divided by 2 equals that outer angle of x. So 260 minus 100 is 160 divided by 2. So you get 80 equals x. All right, final one. So inside, outside, or on. So we see an angle inside the circle. Okay, so inside the circle, so that's going to be arc plus arc divided by 2 equals the angle. So we need to make sure we do the right arcs. So here's x, so this arc and this arc. Okay, these are the ones that are the crust of this pie, right? So we see this. So we're going to do 50 plus 60 divided by 2 equals x. 110 divided by 2. So we end up with 55 for x. So 55 degrees. And then we see the y right next to that. So if this is 55, remember this is a linear pair. So 180 minus 55. So 125 would be y.